Welcome back to my YouTube channel. What if I told you that a simple penny, yes, just 1 cent, could be worth $15 million? Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's true. Some rare 2010 US pennies have skyrocketed in value due to unique minting errors, special compositions, and collector demand. Could you have one in your pocket right now? Stick around, and let's uncover the mystery behind this rare and valuable coin. The basics of the 2010 D penny. The 2010 D 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is a part of the Shield Reverse series, which replaced the Lincoln Memorial design that had been in circulation since 1959. These pennies were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with billions of them released into circulation. But what makes a seemingly ordinary penny worth a fortune? To understand this, we need to dive into the details of rare minting errors, special variations, and collector demand. Rare mint errors that make it valuable every year. The US Mint produces billions of coins, but occasionally, mistakes happen. These errors can turn an ordinary penny into a jackpot for collectors. Let's break down the key errors and variations in the 2010 penny that can make it worth thousands, or even millions. Double die obverse, DDO. A double die obverse error occurs when the coin's design is accidentally struck twice, causing a slight but noticeable doubling in the letters or numbers. Some rare 2010 pennies have this error, especially in God We Trust or Liberty. Off-center strikes. If a coin isn't properly aligned during the striking process, the design may appear off-center. Depending on how much of the design is missing, these errors can be worth anywhere from $100 to thousands of dollars. Transitional metal error, the big money coin. Now, this is where things get really interesting. In 2010, all standard pennies were supposed to be made of copper-plated zinc. However, a few were mistakenly struck on older copper planchets left over from previous years. These rare transitional error coins contain 95% copper instead of the usual 2.5%. Why does this matter? Because a similar mistake in the 1943 penny, where a few were struck in copper instead of steel, resulted in a single coin selling for over $1.7 million. The 2010 copper pennies are much rarer, with only a handful known to exist. That's why one of them has been estimated at up to $15 million. How to identify a rare 2010 penny? Now, you're probably wondering, do I have one of these valuable pennies? Here's how you can check. Look for key minting errors. Check for doubled letters or numbers. Look for off-center strikes. Weigh your penny. Use a digital scale. A normal zinc penny should weigh 2.5 grams. A rare copper penny will weigh 3.1 grams. Check the color. Copper pennies will have a deeper reddish tone compared to the brighter, shinier zinc versions. If you suspect you have one, don't spend it. Get it authenticated by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. How much are these pennies worth? Let's talk about real numbers. Regular 2010 pennies? Worth 1 cent. But rare error versions? Here's what they've sold for at auction. Double die obverse error, up to $1,500 off-center strike, $200 to $3,000 copper transitional error, estimated at $15 million. Imagine finding a penny and realizing it could pay off your mortgage or buy you a luxury car. That's why coin collectors are always on the hunt for these rare finds. Most 2010 pennies are common, but the few rare ones can be worth life-changing money. If you have a jar full of pennies at home, now is the time to search through them. Who knows? That small piece of copper and zinc in your pocket might be worth millions. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden treasure stories. Have you ever found a rare coin in your change? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, happy hunting! Next, imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket, something you wouldn't think twice about, and realizing it's worth a jaw-dropping $3 million. Sounds like a dream, right? But for some lucky collectors, this has become a reality. In today's video, we're diving deep into the incredible world of rare 1999 pennies. I'll tell you exactly what makes them so valuable, how you can spot one, and most importantly, how you might have a small fortune hiding in your loose change. Before we get into the rare 1999 penny worth millions, let's take a step back and talk about its history. It was 1999, everyone was preparing for the new millennium, and the US Mint was producing billions of pennies, just like every year before. But little did they know, some of these pennies would become some of the most sought-after coins in modern history. The 1999 penny is part of the Lincoln Cent series, which has been in circulation since 1909. But unlike earlier pennies, this one had a special feature, something that made it stand out to collectors. Since 1982, pennies have been made from zinc with a thin copper coating, making them weigh just 2.5 grams. However, in 1999, a few incredibly rare pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong metal. On the obverse front of the coin, we have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Below his shoulder, you'll see the date 1999 and, depending on where it was minted, a small letter D for Denver or S for San Francisco. If there's no letter, it was made in Philadelphia. On the back, we see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was used on pennies from 1959 until 2008. But what makes some 1999 pennies so valuable? Let's find out. So, why is one of these pennies worth more than a luxury mansion? It all comes down to rare minting mistakes and special varieties that collectors are desperate to own. Here are the three main reasons why some 1999 pennies are selling for thousands or even millions. The 1999 white AM penny. One of the most famous and valuable errors in 1999 pennies is the white AM variety. This happened when the US Mint accidentally used a proof die meant for special collector's coins on regular pennies made for circulation. On a normal 1999 penny, the letters A and M in America are very close together. But on the rare white AM version, there's a noticeable gap. These pennies have sold for thousands at auctions, and some are rumored to be worth even more. The 1999 double die obverse penny. Another valuable 1999 penny is the double die obverse error. This happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, causing a visible doubling effect on Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering. These errors are rare but can fetch anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000, depending on the strength of the doubling. The ultra-rare 1999 penny struck on the wrong planchet. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Some 1999 pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal. Instead of the usual zinc core with a copper coating, these were struck on foreign coin planchets or even experimental metal. If you find a 1999 penny that looks silver or feels different, don't ignore it, it could be worth a life-changing amount. Now, here's what you need to do to check if your 1999 penny is one of the valuable ones. Look at America on the back. If the A and M in America are far apart, you might have a white AM penny. Check for doubling, look closely at Lincoln's face and the date. If anything appears doubled, you could have a rare double die obverse penny. Examine the color and weight. A normal 1999 penny should be 2.5 grams. If yours is heavier, lighter, or silver in color, it could be a rare planchet error. Get it authenticated. If you think you have a valuable penny, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for verification. Most 1999 pennies are only worth a cent, but if you find one with a rare error, you could be holding a coin worth thousands or even millions. So, don't ignore your pocket change, take a closer look, because your next penny might just change your life. Wouldn't it be crazy if you were the next person to discover a rare 1999 penny worth millions? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more hidden treasure content. Do you have any rare coins in your collection? Have you ever found a valuable penny? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, every penny counts, especially the rare ones. Next, imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket and realizing it's worth a staggering $7 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But some rare 1976 pennies are worth a fortune, and you might have one without even knowing it. In today's video, we'll explore the incredible world of the 1976 Lincoln penny, its fascinating history, and what makes certain rare versions so valuable. By the end, you'll know exactly how to check if you own one of these ultra-rare coins. Let's get started, before we dive into the details of the rare and valuable 1976 pennies. Let's take a step back in time, it was 1976, a huge year for America, marking the country's 200th birthday. While the U.S. Mint produced special bicentennial coins for quarters, half dollars, and dollars, pennies continued with their usual design. However, hidden among the billions of pennies minted that year were a few rare errors and anomalies, some of which are now worth up to $7 million. The 1976 Lincoln penny is part of the Lincoln cent series, which started in 1909. The design remains familiar, but let's take a closer look at the details that make this coin special. In 1976, pennies were still made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them a heavier feel at 3.11 grams. This was before the switch to zinc pennies in 1982. On the obverse front, we have the famous bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. The date 1976 appears below Lincoln's shoulder, and depending on where it was minted, you might see a small letter D for Denver or no mint mark for Philadelphia. San Francisco minted proof coins, marked with an S. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was used from 1959 until 2008. But what makes certain 1976 pennies so valuable? Let's find out, so, why is one of these pennies worth more than a mansion? It all comes down to rare minting mistakes and special varieties that collectors are desperate to own. Here are the top reasons why some 1976 pennies have sold for mind-blowing prices. The 1976 double die obverse penny. One of the rarest and most valuable 1976 pennies is the double die obverse error. This happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, causing a visible doubling effect on Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering. Some of the strongest double die 1976 pennies have sold for over $50,000 at auction. If you spot one, you're looking at serious cash. The 1976 off-metal penny, silver penny. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Some 1976 pennies were mistakenly struck on dime planchets, which are made of a copper-nickel blend, giving them a silver appearance. One of these ultra-rare off-metal 1976 pennies was auctioned for over $100,000. If you find a penny that looks silver, be sure to check its weight. If it's only 2.3 grams instead of 3.11, you may have hit the jackpot. The 1976 experimental aluminum penny. Here's a mystery for the ages. In the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint experimented with aluminum pennies due to rising copper costs. While most of these test coins were destroyed, a few slipped into circulation, possibly including a 1976 version. If you find an extremely light 1976 penny, only 1 gram in weight, you might be holding a piece of lost history worth millions. Now, here's the exciting part: how can you tell if your 1976 penny is one of the valuable ones? Step-by-step guide appears on the screen. Look for doubling on the front. If the date, letters, or Lincoln's face appears doubled, you might have a double die obverse penny. Check the color and weight. If your 1976 penny is silver-colored and weighs 2.3 grams, it could be a rare off-metal error. Weigh it carefully. A normal 1976 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If yours is significantly lighter, around 1 gram, it could be a rare aluminum penny. Examine the edges. If your penny has a different edge than usual, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Get it authenticated. If you think you have a rare penny, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for verification. Most 1976 pennies are only worth a cent, but if you find one with a rare error, you could be holding a coin worth thousands or even millions. So, don't ignore your pocket change. Take a closer look, because your next penny might just change your life. Wouldn't it be amazing if you were the next person to discover a rare 1976 penny worth millions? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more hidden treasure content. Have you ever found a rare coin? Let us know in the comments. And remember, every penny counts, especially the rare ones. Last, imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple penny, only to realize it's worth an unbelievable $73 million. Sounds impossible, right? But for some lucky collectors, this dream has become a reality. In today's video, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of the 1994 Lincoln penny. We'll uncover its fascinating history, the rare minting errors that make some of these pennies worth a fortune, and how you can check if you have one hiding in your loose change. Before we talk about the rare 1994 pennies that could make you rich, let's take a trip back to 1994. It was a year of major events, but at the US Mint, they were doing what they always did, striking billions of pennies. In 1994 alone, over 13 billion pennies were minted. But hidden among them were a few special errors and anomalies that have made some of these coins worth millions today. The 1994 Lincoln penny follows the same design that had been in place since 1909. But let's break it down and see what makes this particular year so special. By 1994, pennies were no longer made of solid copper. Instead, they were composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating, weighing just 2.5 grams. This change had been made in 1982 due to rising copper costs. On the obverse front, we have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Below his shoulder, you'll see the date 1994 and a small letter D for Denver, S for San Francisco, only for proofs, or no letter for Philadelphia. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was used from 1959 until 2008. But while most 1994 pennies look like this, a few rare ones contain critical minting errors, turning them from pocket change into treasures worth millions. So, why is one of these pennies worth more than a private island? The answer lies in minting errors and rare varieties that collectors are willing to pay massive amounts for. Here are the top reasons why certain 1994 pennies have sold for mind-blowing prices. The 1994 double die obverse penny. One of the most valuable 1994 pennies is the double die obverse error. This happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, causing a noticeable doubling effect on Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering. Some of the strongest double die 1994 pennies have sold for over $50,000 at auction. If you find one, you could be looking at a serious payday. The 1994 off-metal penny, silver penny. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Some 1994 pennies were mistakenly struck on dime planchets, which are made of a copper-nickel blend, giving them a silver appearance. One of these ultra-rare off-metal 1994 pennies was auctioned for over $100,000. If you find a penny that looks silver, be sure to check its weight. If it's only 2.3 grams instead of 2.5, you may have hit the jackpot. The 1994 experimental penny, aluminum and bronze varieties. Here's a shocking fact: some experimental 1994 pennies were made from aluminum instead of zinc and copper. These pennies were never meant for circulation, but a few reportedly escaped from the mint. If you find an extremely light 1994 penny, only about 1 gram in weight, you could be holding a piece of lost history worth millions. Now, here's the exciting part: how can you tell if your 1994 penny is one of the valuable ones? Look for doubling on the front. If the date, letters, or Lincoln's face appears doubled, you might have a double die obverse penny. Check the color and weight. If your 1994 penny is silver colored and weighs 2.3 grams, it could be a rare off-metal error. Weigh it carefully. A normal 1994 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If yours is significantly lighter, around 1 gram, it could be a rare experimental aluminum penny. Examine the edges. If your penny has a different edge than usual, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Get it authenticated. If you think you have a rare penny, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for verification. Most 1994 pennies are only worth 1 cent, but if you find one with a rare error, you could be holding a coin worth thousands or even millions. So, don't ignore your pocket change, take a closer look, because your next penny might just change your life. While all of this was happening, the US Mint was hard at work producing pennies, billions of them. Over 13 billion 1994 Lincoln cents were struck, making it one of the most common pennies ever. But hidden among them were a few rare, error-filled coins that are now worth a fortune. Let's break down the design of the 1994 penny so you know what to look for. On the front, we have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. Below Lincoln's shoulder, you'll see the year 1994 and, depending on where it was minted, a small mint mark. A D means it was struck in Denver, an S means it's a proof coin from San Francisco, and no mint mark means it was minted in Philadelphia. On the back, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, which was featured on pennies from 1959 until 2008. At first glance, most 1994 pennies look identical. But if you have a rare variety, you could be holding a life-changing treasure. Now, let's get to the good stuff. What makes certain 1994 pennies so valuable? These coins became worth millions due to rare minting errors and unusual materials. Let's break it down. The 1994 double die obverse penny. One of the most famous and valuable errors is the double die obverse penny. This happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, causing a visible doubling effect on Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering. Some of these pennies have sold for over $50,000. If you spot one, you're in luck. The 1994 off-metal penny, silver penny. Now, here's something that will blow your mind. Some 1994 pennies were mistakenly struck on dime planchets. That means they have a silver color instead of the typical copper appearance. If your 1994 penny weighs 2.3 grams instead of 2.5, it could be an off-metal error worth over $100,000. The 1994 experimental aluminum penny. Here's the rarest of them all. Some 1994 pennies were secretly made of aluminum instead of zinc and copper. These experimental coins were never officially released, but a few have surfaced. If you find an ultralight penny that weighs around 1 gram, you might be holding a coin worth up to $73 million. Only a handful of these pennies are known to exist, and they have been the subject of legal battles because the US Mint never intended for them to leave the facility. Now, let's get practical. How can you check if your 1994 penny is worth a fortune? Check for doubling on the front. If Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering looks doubled, you might have a double die obverse penny. Examine the color. If your penny looks silver, it could be a rare off-metal error. Weigh it carefully. A normal 1994 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If yours is significantly lighter, around 1 gram, it could be an experimental aluminum penny. Check the edges. If your penny has a smooth or different-looking edge, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. Get it professionally graded. If you suspect you have a rare penny, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Most 1994 pennies are worth just 1 cent, but if you find one of these rare errors, you could be sitting on a life-changing fortune. Don't ignore your pocket change. Check your old coins, because your next penny might be worth millions. Wouldn't it be amazing if you were the next person to discover a rare 1994 penny worth millions? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more hidden treasure content. Have you ever found a rare coin? Let us know in the comments. And remember, every penny counts, especially the rare ones.